Right, hello Algebra 2 class, Mr. Martin here from my living room, or my kids' playroom actually, where I've put up a whiteboard and I can go over some math stuff with you guys. So I just wanted to reach out, say I'm here for all of you if you need anything, need any support, either with academics or otherwise. You can always find me during my office hours. You have links to that in your email. My office hours are Wednesday and Thursday from 11 to 12. So feel free to sign in, or you can either call in, sign in, and we can video chat, or you can chat on the phone with me. Other than that, I think starting next week on Fridays, our social workers and our behavior specialists are going to be offering times on Fridays to meet with students, with groups of students, just not one-on-one, but if you want to come in, check out, hang out with them in a Google Hangouts or something, they'll be offering that for you guys. If you have any questions about what's been going on this time, all the different platforms that we're using, please reach out. We'd love to hear from you. We'd love to hear what you've been doing, what you've been up to while school's been closed. So please do that. But today, what I want to do is I want to go over some things that you're going to be seeing this week in your work packet. So we're going to start with quadratics, graphing some quadratics. So, and from vertex form. So we're sticking with vertex form. So here, we've been over this already this year, but I want to make sure that we understand. So we have our vertex form of a quadratic equation. We have y equals ax minus h squared plus k. And each one of those letters kind of represents something specific. So we know that my x, anytime you see an x and y value, you're talking about ordered pairs. So here you have your x, your y, you have an ordered pair. And then you have your a is the first thing you see. And your a is going to be your stretch or compression factor. And that's something that we're not going to really work with much today. We don't really need to know that other than to multiply to use that in part of the equation. But what we're going to focus on are my h and my k. My h, my k together are going to be my vertex. My h by itself is my axis of symmetry, which means on the graph, it's going to cut the parabola into two mirror sections, okay? So let's take a look at the equation I have up here. The equation I have up here is y equals -1, parentheses, x plus 1, close parentheses, to the second power minus 3. Okay, this is in vertex form. First thing I want to do is I want to label what the vertex is, because labeling what the vertex is going to give you a starting point to graph. All right. My vertex here is 1, -3. However, my h value right here always has to be the opposite of what's inside the parentheses. So that h value of 1 is actually -1. So it's going to be -1, -3. My hk is my vertex. So I'm just going to put that right over here. So -1, -3. -1, -3. That's going to be my vertex. Let me just fix that 3 a little bit. As you can tell, my handwriting has not gotten any better since we have been out of school. So there we go. -1, -3. My axis of symmetry is my h value. It's just going to be that first value of the vertex, that x value of the vertex. So -1 is my axis of symmetry. And then my stretch or compression factor, here I can see it's a -1. That's something we can look at later to make sure that the parabola looks like it should. But right now, I'm going to take my vertex and I'm just going to put it over here in this little grid I made. So I have -1, -3. 1, -3. Perfect. And then what I'm going to do is I want to solve this equation for one more value. All right. And I'm going to put, so I already have -1 for an x value. I'm going to go 0. 0 seems like a good value to use. So I'm going to plug that 0 into this equation for x. So y equals negative 1 times 0 plus 1 squared minus 3. And now I do what's inside the parentheses. I got to use my order of operations. Y equals negative 1 times 1 squared minus 3. And then using the order of operations still, I got to do what's squared. 1 squared is just 1 times negative 1. Again, is going to be negative 1. So y equals negative 1 minus 3. Negative 1 minus 3 is just going to be negative 4. Okay? Perfect. So I got that one there. And now I'm going to go one more point. I'm going to do this one more time. And just with one more point where I'm going to say, okay, I use 0 there. Maybe I'm going to use 1 just to give me one more point to plot. So let me erase this. Give me some room. And as I said, I'm going to use 1 here. So y equals negative 1, x is 1, plus 1 squared minus 3. Again, order of operations, 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 squared times negative 1 minus 3. 2 squared is 4. 4 times negative 1. 4 times negative 1 is just negative 4. Minus 3 is negative 7. All right? So now, give me my negative 7 here. Negative 7. Now let's plot what I have here on a graph. I'm going to create kind of a rough sketch of the graph. So just bear with me. All right. So I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Okay, so now what I want to do, first plot my vertex. My vertex is negative 1, negative 3. Negative 1, go over 1, down 3, 1, 2, 3. That's going to be my vertex. All right. My next point, I'm just going to plot this one right here. Negative 1, 0, negative 4. So say right at the origin and then go down 4 here. And then I'm going to do one more, my last point that I have, 1, negative 7. So 1 all the way down to negative 7. That's my last point. Now, here's where I utilize my axis of symmetry. My axis of symmetry is, as I said, as we talked about, is at negative 1, which means that there's a line that goes up and down right at negative 1. And we have to find what's on the other side of this line. All we need to do is we take our points that are on one side and count how far they are away from the line and then place them on the other side, that far away. So, for instance, this point here is only 1 point away from the axis of symmetry. So I go 1 point away in the other direction and put a point there. This point here is 2 points away. So I go 2 points in the other direction now. So 1, 2, so 1, 2, right there. And now I can sketch my parabola, okay? So come up to the vertex and down. Oh, not a great sketch, but that's okay. Again, we're sketching them. They don't have to be perfect as long as you understand kind of where the points belong and why the points are there. We're all set, okay? That'll do it for this stuff on graphing quadratics in vertex form. There's a lot to it. Take your time, take a look at some of this stuff. If you have questions, please ask me. And hopefully we'll be able to chat soon. And always, if you have anything going on, you need to reach out. You know where to find me, email me to contact me. Thank you, and I look forward to doing another video.